Hello. I hope you can hear me. So please say yes or no, because we in last time we had some sound problems, and it would be nice if we can start right away with a good sound. So let me know if you can hear me. Um, if not, I will try my best to get it done. Yeah, welcome. What's the topic of today? I submitted my first dashboard, or more or less an infographic, for Maven Analytics, the Unicorn challenge. And this was pretty interesting because when you look at this type of dashboard challenges, everyone tries to make a real fancy appearance. So everything was really, really colorful, a lot of different graphics, a lot of really wild combination of graphics. And I thought, okay, it's a financial topic because unicorns are typically financial because it's about every company not listed on a stock exchange with a valuation over $1 billion. So this is a definition of a unicorn. And I was thinking, okay, now we have a data set with 1,074 unicorns, and I want to display something out of this data. And because it's financial, I was thinking, okay, what is a typical financial report looks like? It's a lot of black, a lot of gray. It's pure on the information, and I try to make a paper log out. So I try to make something like a newspaper, so a really clear design, but with a lot of information. And so I started to come up with an idea. Okay, it should look really, really clean, really, really simple, but it should have a lot of information inside. Oh, Arthur, I will introduce Arthur as soon as I make an introduction to my to my board. So Arthur, you're welcome on board. So, and the first thing I will show is my solution. And basically, this is my solution. And today I want to discuss and I want to show how I did this. What are the cool things in this solution? What is a little bit dirty? Because when we look here at my back end, there are things you shouldn't do in Power BI, but because it's like an infographic, no one cares about the back end. It's just about the front end. So, and now I want to introduce Arthur as well. So, welcome, Arthur.
Hey, Michael. Oh,
How are you?
yeah, good. So nice to see you again. Cool. I'm really looking forward to it. So we talked a little bit about your work in the BI Thinkers talk last time, especially about your tricks with the labels.
Okay.
You might show us in deep. Yeah, and we also had a more privately discussion about IBCS at all. Maybe we can come to this later on. And yeah,
Okay.
I just make
So,
any comments if I see anything I cannot follow, or
yeah,
maybe some other weird questions I
just keep
can
asking. Just
address.
keep asking. It's always. And if someone else wants to join, yeah, feel free. We have enough space for everyone here. So basically, this is the solution, the end product. But to come to this end product, I will go through all the steps I did. So actually, if I go to start and say, okay, let's go to the data transformation. In this case, it was not so challenging because it was just one table with some columns, and as you see, I should change my direction here, but my past it was a little bit of here you can see it's pretty easy data. So you have a company name, a valuation, you have an industry, a city. So the data is already quite good prepared. So you could say, okay, there are some missings, but okay, it's more about the dashboard, not about the data quality. So, and as you can see, this is something interesting because this is the investors, and you get a selection of investors. And if you want to analyze these investors, you couldn't use just this this column, because all investors are in one column, so you have to split them up to get an analysis on the investors. I did this, but I did not publish this. So then you have the unicorn year, when they become the first year of a unicorn. And now I got also some grouping. You can also do this grouping in Power BI in the front end. So you can do groups in Power BI. But in my case, I used just group the table, but because this actually is one table with one valuation for every startup. And I said, okay, I can now calculate the multiplier. What is the multiplier about? We will talk a lot about this multiplier, because I analyze them quite often in my in my dashboard. This multiplier describes what is the ratio between the valuation and the funding. So where's the funding? Somewhere should be also a funding. So where did I? What's this? Oh, here's the funding. So this is the multiplier is a ratio between the funding and the valuation. So really good is if you have a high multiplier, means the funding was quite low and the valuation is quite high. So, and to make this a little bit better comparable, so I started with a multiplier and then said, okay, to make this a little bit better comparable, I brought in groups. And everyone knows how to group something like really, really easy in Power BI. There's a really cool technique where you can just say, okay, new column. Oh, next time I should use the English version. And you can say column from example. And this is really cool in this case, because you don't have to think about something. You can just say column from example, say yes from this one. And now you get the possibility to say, okay, what is my column? You see here, and I can say, okay, 20 is in the group 20 to 25. 14 is in the, and you see it's automatically catch the right groups. This is really, really cool feature. Actually, I did something else. I got a little bit deeper, because I said if the multiplier is over a certain value, then they just over 50 or something like this. But this is something I did in the front, and so in Power BI directly. So as you can see, I did something similar to the valuation. I said, okay, provide me a group with valuation, so 1 billion, 20 billion and more, to get it a little bit grouped, because there are a lot of different valuations. And I did also a little thing, maybe Arthur, you know Benford's law.
Yeah, but I think it's more for fraud investigation and such things.
Actually, it's not only for fraud investigation. Actually, it's for all numbers that are growing naturally. So you can also have a look at with Benford's law on, for example, on populations. They will also fit into Benford's law, because they are growing like every normal number. And because of this, they are in Benford's law. And the funny thing about the unicorns, they are not in Benford's law. They have a really, really big outcome at 1, and those that do not fit in Benford's law. We can discuss later on this, why this is the case. So I have some assumptions, but they are not fitting into Benford's law at this moment. So this was something interesting in this
So
case.
there might be some fraud too, because my use case for Benford's law is actually to detect like frauded sums in records. So yeah, maybe if you just create one numbers from your mind and not naturally, then it doesn't fit. So maybe
I guess the solution is a different one, because we only look at companies with a valuation over 1 billion. So, and this is just one slice of all the companies, and you're missing all the other companies under 1 billion of the valuation. So this is not the whole population of companies. You're just looking at one specific population, and because you get all the population is over 1, so you get all them, but you do not get all the with 800 million, 900 million, 100 million. So you leave out this whole population. So I guess this is one part of the reason. And the another part of the reason, I think, is psychological, because they think, okay, we have to evaluate over 1 billion, then it's get a little bit more marketing effect. You know what I mean? So like a magic border. If you get this threshold, you get more awareness at the market. And so I guess there's also some kind of bias to get 1 billion as a valuation.
Yeah.
So these are my reasoning.
There are lots of assumptions you have to make if you use such statistics.
Yes.
So it's very hard. Maybe everyone would say the sample size is not big enough.
That's another thing. So, and actually the thing what fits is that the 1 is the most likely number. So the if you know Benford, you can Google it. If you're not, it's practical says that you have a distribution about every first digit, and the 1 should be there in 30% of the cases. In our case, it's 40, 50 or something like this, and the other one decreasing there. And the 9 is the less probable number for the first digit. Okay, this is practically the data backend. I did also build some dimensions, and this is the only really interesting dimension because the basic was so the basic is that you have all selected investors. So there are more than 1 investor. As you can see, it's always 2 or 4 which are invested in a certain company. And to analyze every single investor, you can't use just this column. You have to bring up a new column where every investor is separated. And in order to do so, I just go and split the investors, as you can see here. And to analyze our valuations and our funding and our startups, so unicorns, by every single investor, we have to pivot them. So or unpivot in this case to get a column-based investor selection. So there is some problems with this because it's getting one-to-many relation from normally the facts to something what should be the dimensions. But to be honest, in normal ways I would say, oh, be a little bit careful. But in this case, we are just talking about an infographic. And to be honest, it was a project in my spare time. So I didn't care about, it's maybe not the best modeling, but it works. So I guess I did this, what a lot of customers did always. Oh, it works. I don't change it. It works.
Yeah, and you kept this for the key, this comma separated column as a key.
Yeah, I kept it as a key so that I said, you should normally go for an index.
Yeah. This is something I would still do, but I also know that tagging is one of the examples where many to one filtering is you can apply it if it's not too big. In a perfect world, you will build the investors, the startups, and then a bridge table as a second fact table. But for such a small use case, it's just too big.
The thing is, in my case, it was just it's 1,000 multiplies 4, so it's 4,000 entries. I don't care. But if you have big tables, then you should care about, because then you also getting performance issues. In this case, it was just no big deal at all. One important thing, you say tagging, and this is the same thing. Sometimes you have the same structure with websites or some kind of tags in, I don't know where you use tags also without websites. Do you know an example with tagging without websites?
In machine learning.
Okay.
Awesome.
Skill sets are also something.
Yeah.
So if your skill set for an employee, then you can also use, we have another entry. Andrea.
Yeah.
So welcome. Welcome, Andrea.
Hello, Michael. Hello, Arthur.
Hello.
Hello.
So, you have any questions so far?
No, so far it's very good. I switched to StreamYard because on LinkedIn the resolution isn't good. I couldn't read anything.
Okay. This is a trick of mine to get everyone in the in the screen. Or you can also go to YouTube. But I heard this before that the resolution of the stream is not as good. Maybe it has to do with my upload. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I need to maximize it. Then I can read it. When it's not maximized, I cannot read it. But I think it's my monitor, because on the surface, when I look down, I see it. I can read everything.
Perfect. So yeah, this is practically the only interesting, I would say, column. I would say table in the data preparation. All other things are quite standard. So in the end, I thought, should I do something like dimensions, or should I just go with a single table? So I did some dimensions, but I was not as clear as I normally be. So there's not everything is in dimensions, but the most important are still in dimensions. Yeah. We will see some outcome of this not being really careful soon, because I have some M2M relationships or many-to-many relationships, and I didn't care because they make no difference. So actually, this project felt like a lot of customers do projects. Oh, it's M2M. Oh, it works. Okay, I don't take it anywhere out. Okay, this was practically the backend, so no big deal. It was just connecting the tables, bringing the dimensions into play. And the only interesting thing the two interesting thing was to extract some of the information here. So the grouping was interesting, to get some groups out of this. And also interesting was to build a new dimension for the investors. So these are the only two things where I say, okay, this was a little bit more effort, but it was quite less effort at all to get some additional information out of the provided data. So are there questions on the preparation of the data? No, perfect. So then I will close it, and we come to the data model. So we go from data preparation, data model, and now you see I would say my artwork. So here, the investor is many-to-many, so there has to be doubles in the unicorn as well, and the same is for industries. So, but because I did not look so deep in this, I said, okay, I don't care. Here you see I used a cross filtering, also not good. Here I say, okay, it's a nice filtering, and everything else is pretty clean. You see some disconnected tables. This disconnected tables I use for formatting reasons. We will see why I use this for formatting reasons later. And this table I could actually delete because I didn't use it. It was just in the data. Pretty standard. It's a funny thing. I nearly not used my date table. So something in a normal reporting, one of the most important tables here, I didn't use them at all. So quite funny. So, and now let's come to our report. So it looks not a lot effort. So looks pretty easy, but in the back end there was some efforts. So I don't know if you know Power BI or not. So one thing not so easy to achieve in Power BI is the formats I have used here. So this is I would call it custom format. So because you can combine two values. So here it combines the value how many unicorns and the percentage of the total. And this is something you normally not can do so easy in a standard Power BI chart. So, and also what is quite interesting is that I here aligned. You see, it was not perfectly aligned here. So So now it's perfectly aligned. That here I aligned all these visuals and kept the same axis on 3 different visuals, so that you are able to compare the highs of the visuals across the multiple categories. And also I did something here you normally don't do. So you say the x-axis is for the time axis, but in this case I did it like in histogram and used different histogrammic bins to display everything on the same axis to compare different binning with each other. So you can compare the ratio, the funding of the so funding to valuation ratio with the age, how long the unicorns need to get unicorns, with the year when they become a unicorn. So you get 3 different bins and can directly compare each bin and can say, okay, interesting. So the average ratio between funding and it's the average. So the biggest ratio is now 0 to 5, and this is all at the same level as the year 2021. So this was the main idea of align everything, that you are able to compare different splits, different bins with each other. And to be honest, this was also something I thought this would be really, really interesting if you are able to say to different visualizations in Power BI, please use the same axis. So that you can say, okay, please use the same axis by automatic. And that I had to go into this visualization and say, okay, I have to fix the x-axis and the y-axis to get the same height and the same layout for each axis. So this was a little bit, annoying. It would be really, really cool if you can say, okay, click on 3 visuals and say, align these 3 visuals to 1. For column charts, this is still, it's quite okay, but I tried the same for the bar charts. And for bar charts, it's nearly impossible because you do not know where this chart is starting. Because of different lengths of the entry names, you can't say, okay, the axis is aligned.
You should use Deneb to do it.
This would be a solution to build an own visual, but my task was, I say to me, okay, you can use some kind of custom visuals, and I'm really a big fan of custom visuals, especially when it comes to IDCS or something like this. But in this case, my personal inner challenge was only use everything you are getting out of the box visuals from Power BI. So, okay, this is...
then I would fake the bars with a matrix.
This is a good idea. And this is a really good idea. Fake the bars with a matrix, yes. And actually, you could now align this also in this way with the new field parameters. Should be also possible. Problematic in this case is for me, at this time, the field parameters was not there. But anyways, so let's have a look into what we are seeing. As described, we are seeing 3 bins, and here we're seeing also split ups by industry, by country, and here we see our top 10 unicorns. So, and now let's have a look in this little, I would say, chart here. As you can see, I also went a little bit crazy by building special headers, and I really cannot recommend to build any headers because you have to build it always new. You have to format, and it's a really painful thing to format headers and to type in everything. I would say to bring the headers aligned and to bring the headers with the right numbers was more than half the work. Because that's not standardized, it was like always bring this header in line with this, bring this header in line with this. So this was, I cannot recommend headers like this. It looks nice, it brings additional information, And we will see that these headers are also dynamic. But to bring headers in a text way, to make them like highlighted, is it allowed to say pain in the ass?
Is it smart narratives or is it this
Yes.
no?
It's text fields including smart narratives. And always, if it is black, then is DAX measure behind this. So all the black numbers are DAX measures as a smart narrative in Power BI. And to be honest, to format them, it's some kind of ignoring, because sometimes it makes it big, sometimes it makes it not. You have to, it's like a little bit unhandy, so it feels not really fluent. Because what I want to achieve is something that I say, okay, always if I have a number, I want to highlight this number so that you can have a nice lookout that you see, okay, fintech, and then see, okay, nearly 40% are unicorns, and the 40% is dynamic. And you can see this is dynamic because if I'm clicking on United States, everything is filtered for United States. And here you see a mistake coming from my dynamic formatting, because this one is the default value if I'm filtering. I haven't solved this problem or this issue, but this is coming because I here go for the filtering for the custom displaying. So we will see this now. Okay, let's go for external tools. How I did this nice custom visualization. Tabular editor. So you need tabular editor in order to do so. Without it will not work. So, and now, so this is also a thing where I say, okay, normally I would expect that Power BI is able to make concatenated visualization, so labels by its own, but you have to go to tabular editor. So maybe they will bring it up in the future. I'm not sure, because to be honest, for an end user, this solution is not really feasible. What do you think, Arthur?
Yes. I just agree, but yeah, it's like Power BI is what you have shown is you can make things very easy, but it's not perfect. It's like the 80-20 rule. And yeah, to have nice labels, you can do this way to make it really pretty, or you can fake a matrix and then put in some strings with normal measures. This is what would be possible without tabular editor.
But strings you can't display in a.
It wouldn't look that pretty. So either I have to place them like left of the bar, or they will be all like in one vertical line.
Make it with a matrix or something like this.
Yeah.
Okay, I understand.
A fake matrix, then you can do it. Then you have the formatting options.
I see you lose a lot of interesting matrices.
Yeah, because I also think that the bar chart is not so good as it should be. In Power BI, they're missing a lots of stuff. So I usually in the more like professional reports, I use the matrix as a bar chart, just as a fake, or DNIP. But it depends. If it's worth the invest, it's DNIP. If it's not, it's a matrix. And only for the very easy use cases, I use the native bar charts.
Cool. Yeah, and let's have a look here. We see by industry. So this is the formatting for this one, so that you see the number of unicorns and the percentage. How did we achieve this? Oh, I just opened this one. I create a calculation group, and here you see format by industry. So this is a calculation item. And in order to get this calculation item work, I need first thing selected measure. So if you never have used calculation groups, I can highly recommend Google SQL BI and calculation groups. You will find something, and they will explain you everything. And maybe you are confused after this, and maybe not. If not, you can use selected measure, and it will always display the measure you are selecting in your calculation group. And the interesting thing is now coming. So 1 month ago, I was not aware of the next thing. I have seen this in a video from Bas. He showed this, and I was, wow, I can do this. And you can change it from expression to format string expression. And behind the format string expression, you can bring in what Power BI should display when you use this selected measure. So, and I said, okay, what should this one display? And here you see, I used a variable for the percentage, and I used what it should display. And here you see also why it's display the 200 if something wrong is selected, because I've said, okay, if something not fitting, so please display 200. So this is something I should solve. I will not do this now because this will not work. It will some mess. But the basic thing is, I say, if is selected measure. So I asked what measure is selected, and I say, if the selected measure is the number of unicorns, so unicorns, then go for format. So with format, you can bring a string to a certain format and say it should look like this. So and say format as a normal number slash and say the percentage. So pretty easy. And you can say, okay, this should look like this. And here you see what the outcome is. We have the number of unicorns, and we see also the percentage of total unicorns are here in the US, for example. Or here you see the percentage of fintech. It's the same principle, only replace country with fintechs, so with industries. A little bit further. I didn't did this here. In another version, I had also included, and this was something really cool. You can also include, for example, the category name. So I included also the category name in the display. Then you have, then you can get rid of the axis and make a cleaner look when you only want to display everything for. Then you can say, okay, I want ByteDance, the industry, and then the valuation. So you can bring a lot of information in one line. Okay. So this was about the custom formatting. So yeah, just Google for. Thank you, Arthur, for sharing the link of Bas. This was actually my inspiration for doing the custom labels. And now we have seen the custom labels. Now let's go a little bit deeper into the little things here. So this is done with, as Arthur has said, with smart narrators. So do you use smart narrators often, or it's just sometimes?
Almost never, to be honest, because of what you said. It's a pain to format them.
Yeah.
And I end up to use like normal labels or the matrix again, and just build my string, and then just have no formatting inside of the text.
So let's have a look in this little. And you see it's hard to grab them. And now if I click on one of these values, you see I have to ask a question on my data. I could also build some measure including everything, but then I have the problem, I cannot format the different parts of this text differently. And I want to format them differently because I want to highlight my numbers. And in order to do so, I have to use the smart narratives. And so every number here is actually a single calculation. And now I can just have an average. Have a look into average multiplier. Let's have a look. So if I look in average multiplier, okay, it's quite easy. It's just averaging. Why I did 2 times, why I did the average multiplier and also the median, because the data is really, really wide and you have some outliers really changing the ratios. So I started with the average, but because of maximum of 4,000, what really destroys my average, I said, okay, I want to also have the median multiplier. So I then changed to median and did the same. So basically, I just changed median for average x and calculated the average multiplier for this valuation. So this was the easy part. Then it's getting a little bit more tricky. Here I calculated the average year, so also quite easy. Also the number of companies, everything, not just normal. A little bit more tricky was to calculate the shares for certain softwares. So here I calculated the shares for fintech and let's see. And this is the hard part, to format exactly this little thing. I formatted here share fintech and internet services. Fintech and internet services. So, and it's basically calculate and say, okay, is it in an industry? Then, calculate the share divided by the total valuation. I think, Arthur, it's falling asleep right now.
No, it's Andrea proposed a quite cool thing. She thinks you can try to use the HTML visual by BI Samurai,
Okay.
like K-Team, like Pascal Kiefer.
Yeah.
It's a custom visual, obviously, so it doesn't fit for this challenge, but may work better than smart narratives for other things, because it's quite funny that smart narratives are created like for AI questions, but are only used, as far as I know, for make measures formatable inside.
That's actually really funny. So, and basically this were some of the cool easy measures, and then I started to think about ratios. And as you can see here, a lot of shares, more or less easy. But here in the last small one here, a little bit more things to think about. And the last one, it's a ratio between the top 10. So I calculated the ratio and I made a mistake, and I will show this mistake. I calculated the ratio between the top 10 companies. So what is the top 10 valuation ratio and all the others? So what I have to do in order to calculate the top 10 ratio versus the other ratio, I had to exclude all the top 10 companies from the others. So how did I do this? I hope I find it. And maybe I make mistakes, and I'm happy to get advice. So media.
There is also a SQL BI video on this, top N versus others. Do you use this for?
No. I have to top ratio, top 10 versus West. So this is now it's getting interesting. What I did. First, I created a virtual table. So I started using using variables. It's not perfectly formatted like you can do it, but it's I guess it's okay. I started with creating a virtual table containing all the valuation and all the multipliers for for my unicorns. So basically, I used my unicorns. So I group by. In my case, I hadn't to group it, but it was for me, it was easier. I could also use calculate table. Maybe this is faster. I don't know. I haven't tried it because this data is, the amount of data is so low that you haven't, I did not have to care a lot about performance issues. So I just went to this solution and said, okay, I built my virtual table. Then I said, okay, first thing I want to know is all my top 10 companies. So I used top 10, also top N, 10 table unicorns. So I used this virtual table from the first step in my second step and say, okay, this, I want to use the top 10 companies. And then I said, okay, these are my top 10 companies. And now I said, okay, I want to have the median ratio on this top 10 companies. And I say just median X of this table based on my second value. Here in this case, it's my media, it's my average multiplier. So, and now I said, okay, let's have a look in the next thing. Now I said, okay, what I now want to do is do the same for the other multipliers. And therefore I said, okay, please go and say, use the second table except the first table. So I say, I go for the first table and extract the first. So I extracted the top N from the total table and get all the other information. A similar solution you can find if you look for new versus recurring customers. This is similarly done. So now I have a second table only containing all the unicorns not in the top 10. And the last thing I did was, okay, now the last two steps was what I did was I used this median X again for the second table, and then I just said divide the first table through the second table. And here is my mistake because I said this is 2.3 times higher. I shouldn't -1 because then I got just the percentage and not the times. So this was my mistake on this measure. And now I got the ratio between the top 10 companies versus all the other companies. So, and this is also interactive. So if I just click on, for example, the year 2021, then I got the ratio for the year 2021. The only thing why this is not dynamic, because I not used only top N filtering dynamically. I just said it hard-coded here for this visual. So yeah, this was a fast walkthrough to my first submission to the Maven Analytics Challenge by trying to make an easy looking dashboard with some gimmicks, I would say. Any questions? Oh, something I did, as I said before, I tried to make comparison as easy as possible. As you can see here, I introduced a constant line at 200 so that you are able to compare this a little bit to this one. And wasn't really able to make this sized at the same, so because of the columns are different. This is the thing what we said before, where you can use DNAP or something like this. I guess this will be a real advantage if you can really align some axes to make it comparable quite easy about in different dimensions.
Yeah, I think when you have quantities like in these two charts, you can just make it very easy with DNAP to place them like above and under each other. and then compare it. But it's not so easy in the row above because the x-axis is very different.
Yeah,
So,
I can do everything in the y-axis as here, but it's also not good. It will also not work because here it only works because everything is flat and everything is numbers.
Yeah, and statistic
It
is
would work
like,
if there's some names, so you can't align axes really good in Power BI. So this is a little bit
Perhaps might be a solution to add another field in the data and to extend the name, for example, for the industries by invisible characters, so they all get the same length.
Oh yeah, this could be a solution. This could be a solution. Yeah, so that you say, okay, it's all invisible, and then everything has the same size.
Yes. So all might be 40 characters, and by leading invisible characters.
Yeah.
So you could adjust it to the same width.
This is this is a nice thought. But actually, I think Power BI should be able to do this. To align axes.
I had this case last week, and I could define the width a little bit from the length of the characters. Isn't there a property?
We can.
In the new version, I don't know.
What I can do is I can here. Oh, I hate the new format pane.
Me too.
So I can say what is the maximal width, but I can't say how exact is the width. So I can because here it needs more space. It will go for wider space. So this is I'm not convinced about this usability.
Yeah.
Thinking what I use is also when you have the y or x-axis, then you can also make the maximum dynamic by a measure, and then you can influence it a little bit more. Like when you have, you just typed it in as a hard value.
Yes, I typed it in. I say
750. So if you use the same value in both, it would be look more aligned, but at the same time, the outlier with the United States would make it look very ugly.
The thing is, what you can't really align is the starting point. This is a problem.
Yeah.
So you can't. I could align it in this case, but I couldn't align it in a dynamic case. So because I don't know where new data is coming in, and if someone filtering, if this is it's not the coolest thing. Because normally I like, say, if you can filter something and every still is comparable, and because these are two visuals,
you can just remove the label or the label in the y-axis at all and put it into the formatting.
Yeah, I did this. Yes, I did this. But this is then a little bit noisy because then you have a lot of numbers here and a lot of characters.
Yeah, there's no free lunch.
There's no free lunch. Yes.
But yes, using the new field parameters would mean you have only one visual and change the field by slicer, or
we can try it. Let's do it. So how does this look like? Maybe it does not work. It's also possible, but we can.
I think so.
We can have a look. So just new parameter fields. So I call it new axis. Let's go for the industry. let's say also the countries. I go for the groups. Maybe it's a little bit cooler. Setting up because not so messy. Okay. The problem is that you have not the parallels. You have only the possibility to get it. Okay, I see the problem. You get only then the connected dimensions, not the single dimension. So I guess in this case, you could use some kind of calculated table to do this. This would be possible, but and here you see the problem with the custom formatting. Now it's everything 100% because there's some kind of random things going on in the backend. But field parameters are no solution, as you can see. Because now you have doubled the dimension and you can't just say use both parallel to each other.
Yes, you can't. You have to switch. Then you have to switch in the visual.
Yeah, I could switch it in a visual, but I can't compare it in the visual.
Well, what happens if you drag it to the small multiples? Just try it. Maybe it's fun. I've never seen this before. Okay.
I can show you this small multiples. It's pretty easy. I will show it to you later. After the session, I can show it to you. But I can now introduce some kind of, for example, investor. Here, select a single name. You get everything then. Okay, makes not a lot of sense. But you can use the field parameter pretty cool in the small multiples. This is a pretty cool solution. Yeah. Any additional questions?
Yeah, this was already asked. What have you done different if you already had the field parameter when you created this?
Nothing, because this is a little bit sad that the challenge is just about an infographic. And normally I do not like to just build one page to make the page looking pretty. I really like to have interactive navigations and have the possibility to dive a little bit deeper in the data and to have different views of the data and not just one single page. Because this is, for me, it's not the thing to build one single page with the information. I really like to have like a navigation in your data that you say, start at a level where you see everything at a glance and then dig deeper in the data, get more analysis. So this is a little bit sad. Okay. But these are the rules. So I played by the rules. Just build one visualization, one page with visualizations. Yeah. Thanks you're joining me. So I will do this trick with a bad stream again. help to get some company. So last chance to inquire me, to ask some questions.
Could you show the trick you mentioned for the stacked bar charts?
Stacked bar charts?
For the bar charts above, for the maximum value, for the aligning.
Oh, yes. It's basically a lot of handwork to align it by the X and Y axis, and then I used a line with here the average years, and here I used as you can see, it's really you have to take care with alignment of all the visuals, and this is not the coolest thing. And here I used for the y-axis, I activated the y-axis. Then I said maximum 600, minimum is of course 0. And this I did for all the visuals, and therefore everything is null to 600. And because it's all numbers, it's have the same height of the numbers under this, and therefore this is why they are all at the same level. And then I just aligned.
You could have used their measure for conditional maximum, no?
I could use, but because this was not to be dynamic, I just made an easy call and said, okay, keep it as easy as possible. So, of course, if you have like a dynamic case, it would be, I guess, way better to say, okay, use the maximum of these 3 groups. Build a measure and say maximize these 3 groups. This would be also possible, yes. Okay. Yeah. Any further question? If not, thank you very much. And we nearly did 1 hour on 1 page.
Yeah, thanks, Michael, for sharing.
Yeah.
And hopefully see you again in some other talks.
Yeah. Goodbye, everyone.
Goodbye.